Hello friends, welcome to my YouTube channel. I hope you are all doing well. This is Aliza once again, back with a new lesson of rounding numbers to its nearest tens and hundreds. So I'm going to get started with rounding numbers to its nearest tens, but before we do that, it's very important to know the strong and the weak numbers. So our whole lesson is going to revolve around this number, okay? Weak numbers are 0, 1, 2, 3, and 4. The strong numbers are 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. So please try to keep a note of these weak numbers and strong numbers. Well, to begin with, I have a number 52. And I'm going to round off this 52 to its nearest tens. Before I even get started, I'm going to put the place values. The lesson about place values has been provided earlier, so you can take a note of that lesson. Well, so 2 belongs to the ones place and 5 belongs to the tens place. We are going to round off this number to its nearest tens. So I am going to underline this 5 because 5 belongs to the tens place with a T written at the top. Now we are going to look at this too, the number which is to the exact right of the number that I have underlined. I have underlined 5, which belongs to the tens place. So I'm going to look to the exact right of that number, which is a 2. I'm going to put a tick on that. Now let's look at this column. This square box over here, it says that 2 is a weak number. It says that 2 is a weak number. So how does this work? Just because 2 is a weak number, it is going to use all its might to push 5 and change that to a 6. Okay? But just because 2 is a weak number, it is unable to do so. So 5 remains as 5. 2 has drained all its energy and it has changed to a 0. So 52 rounded off to its nearest tens is equal to 50. Just because it is nearest tens, it has got a 0 at the end, and thereby our final answer is 50 if 52 is rounded off to the nearest tens. Now I move on to the next one. The next one would be, well, I have a number in my mind. I'm going to type in that real quick, or maybe write it. Well, I have a number 85. 85, I'm going to put the place values, ones place and tens place. I'm going to round off 85 to its nearest tens. So I'm going to underline 8, but going to look at 5, which is to the immediate right of 8. Now 5 over here is a strong number, right? So 5 is going to use all its might to push 8 and turn that into a 9. It will be successful in doing that just because 5 is a strong number. So 8 has changed to 9. 5 has drained all its energy and has changed to a 0. So 85 rounded off to the nearest tens would be a 90. Okay? Now I move on to the next 2-digit number, which can be used to round it off to the nearest 10. I have a number 99. Ones place, tens place. If you know how to do this, you can definitely pause this video and then check the answer when you are done with it. Well, so we have 99. I've put the place values. I'm going to round off this 99 to its nearest tens. So I am going to underline this 9, which belongs to the tens place. But going to look at the immediate right to that, which is a 9 again. Now 9 is a strong number over here. So 9 is going to use all its might to push this 9 and change it to a 10. It will be successful in doing that because 9 is a strong number. So this 9 changes to a 10 and the other 9 over here changes to a 0. So 99 rounded off to its nearest tens would be a 100. Okay, because we have this 10, this 9 rounded off to the nearest tens would be a 10, and just because we are rounded off to the nearest tens, the last number in the ones place is always a 0, so we get a 0 for that. So our final answer is equal to 100. Okay, now I'm going to move on to a three-digit number, which can be used to round off to the nearest tens. So my first number would be 528. Before I even get started to do the sum, I am going to put the place values on top of the numbers. So that would be a ones, T for tens, and H for hundreds. Well, I'm going to round off 528 to its nearest tens. So I'm going to underline the tens place. But I'm going to look at the number which is to the immediate right of that number. So that is 8. Now, 8 is a strong number. So it tries real hard to push 2 and turn that to a 3. So 2 turns into a 3 because 8 is a strong number and it has been successful in turning the 2 to a 3. 8 turns into a 0 because it has drained all its energy. So that has turned into a 0, and 5 belongs to the hundreds place, so it stays as a 5. So 528, when I round off that number to its nearest tens, the answer is 530. Okay, now moving on to the next example. Maybe I shall delete only this part so that I do not have to write the place values over and over again. Well, the next question which I have in my mind would be a 923. Okay, I want to change this number to its nearest tens. Nearest tens, right? So I underline this 2 because it is in the tens place. But I look at 3, which is to the immediate right to that 2 which belongs to the tens place. Now 3 is a weak number, as we can see from here. So the 3 is trying really hard to push that 2 into a 3, but it will be unable to do so because 3 is a weak number. So 2 stays as 2. 3 has lost all its energy in doing that. So 3 becomes a 0, and the 9, which belongs to the hundreds place, it stays as a 9. So 923, if I round off that number to its nearest tens, so it should be 920. Well, I move on to the next part of the question, that is rounding off the number to its nearest hundreds. Okay, so I'm going to type over here hundreds and just shift it right up here so that we have it in the same line. Okay, so I'm rounding off the numbers to its nearest 100. For example, I'm going to take this same example of 528. So 528. Putting the place values, ones, tens, 100. I'm going to round off this number to the nearest hundreds. So I underline the hundreds place, but I look to the immediate right of that number, which is a 2. Now, that 2 is a weak number, as our chart says. 2 is a weak number. So this 2 is using all its might to push that 5 and turn it into a 6. But it will be unsuccessful in doing so because 2 is a weak number. So 2 has drained all its energy, and Z8 has drained all its energy because it was trying to help 2. So we get 500 as our final answer. 528 rounded off to the nearest tens would be a 500. Okay, I go to my next question. Let me keep the place values. So my next question would be 923. Rounding off to the nearest 100, I underline 9, but look at 2. So 2 is trying to push 9, but 9 remains the same as a 9. 2 and 3 becomes a 0, so our final answer is 900. Well, our next example would be 963. You can definitely pause the video over here and try to do it by yourself and then check the answer at the end. So we have a question 963. We are going to round off that number to its nearest 100. So we are going to underline the 9. But look at 6, which is to the immediate right of that number. So that 6, as we can see from here, is a strong number. This 6 is using all its might to push 9 into a 10, and it will be successful in doing that because 6 is a strong number. So 9 turns into a 10, the 6 drains its energy, turns into a 0. The 3 was also trying to help out 6 because they are all friends. So 963 rounded off to its nearest hundreds is 1000. Okay? Well, I have the very last number for you, which is 202. Let's do something. Let's round off this number to its nearest tens and nearest hundreds, okay? So this would be the nearest 100 and this would be the nearest tens. I would suggest you to pause this video and take over this question, and you can check your answer at the end. So I'm going to get started with rounding off to the nearest hundreds. Okay? Ones place, tens place, hundreds place. As we are rounding off to the nearest hundreds, underlining the 2 which is under the hundreds place. Looking at 0. 0 is a weak number. 0 uses all its might to push 2. So 2 remains as 2 because 0 is a weak number. 0 remains as 0. 2 changes to a 0. So 202 rounded off to the nearest 100. The answer is a 200. Let's go to 202. If we can round that to its nearest tens. Ones place, tens place, hundreds place. Now we are going to round off this number to its nearest tens, so I'm going to underline this 0. But going to look at 2, right? Now 2 is a weak number, so 2 tries real hard to push 0 and turn that into a 1. But no, it shall be unsuccessful in doing that. So this 2 remains as 2, the 0 remains as 0, this 2 has drained all its energy and it has turned into a 0. So friends, do you notice something? There are few numbers which remains the same for hundreds and tens. If you change a certain number to a hundreds, it's going to have the same answer. You are going to change that same number to its tens. It is going to have the same answer as the hundreds, okay? So do not confuse yourself while you are doing the sum, and do not think that you are going wrong just because you are having two zeros at the end and they have asked you to round about that number to its nearest tens. You are wrong. No. There are exceptional cases when you can have two zeros at the end. So 20 would be the number and the tens would be for that zero. Okay? So we can close the chapter for today. Thank you so much for your support and for your time. I really appreciate your help. Thank you so much. You have a good rest of the day.